If I'm a company and I'm really convinced as a manager that I want to use my human resources better, I want to empower my workers with the right kind of technology, still my hands are tied if the tech sector is not producing these new technologies.
I love this idea that technology should be more complementary to human skills. However, you know better than I do that technology is the result of endogenous choices. So you need to transform the incentives of people to
100%.
shape. How do you do it? Is it through taxes? Is through interfering in the government choices? How do you plan to do it?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Luigi, for asking that and asking it in that very, very polite and nice way. So, first of all, I want to convince people that the menu ahead of us with digital technology and especially with AI has these complementarities in it. So these complementarities are not pie in the sky. They are real complementarities that are feasible. That thesis doesn't imply that we know how to get there. I do not believe for a second that the government can, as an entrepreneur or as a bureaucratic planner, can tell you, this is the technology we're going to adopt. This is the technological path we're going to go. That would be disastrous. But I also believe, and I think history shows, that government policy and also general social pressures do set the stage and the agenda within which entrepreneurial energies and incentives are shaped. For example, in an area like energy, it was those societal pressures and some government policies, some starting in Germany, some starting in Europe, some starting in the United States, many implemented in China, that led to a huge improvement in renewable energy sources, so much so that from starting from levels where they were more than 10 times as expensive as fossil fuels, today they are cost competitive with fossil fuel. That is a technological redirection. Not every aspect of that can be translated into sort of the direction of AI between automation and human complementarity, but it is a very powerful proof of concept. And I think the most powerful way of going towards human complementarity would be if the tremendous amount of talented people who go into tech, rather than waking up every morning and thinking, I'm going to build artificial similar intelligence today, they thought, I'm going to build more human complementary AI, then most of that battle would be won already. Now, how do you get those minds to be changed? It's about communication, it's about aspirations, it's about societal objectives, and some policies could be useful as well.
I appreciate the fact that innovators have a role. However, when we look at Silicon Valley today, there are hundreds of billions of dollars that are invested with a very specific goal in mind, which is to make money. How? Mostly by replacing existing workforce. So you need to create a equally attractive impulse for people to do it. How do you do it?
100%. The overwhelming impulse in much of technology today is to develop what I call tools of automation that would enable companies to save on labor costs by cutting wages or by cutting workforce and enabling those processes and tasks to be taken over by algorithms or capital. And that makes shared prosperity much harder. And I would argue that if it goes excessive as it has done, it also makes the objective of gaining productivity from these technologies much harder. And therein is the opening. So,
Sorry, I'm a little bit confused because I thought that productivity was precisely substituting labor. So the reason why agriculture has become so productive is because machines have replaced men, mostly were men that were plowing, seeding, and so on and so forth. No,
100% that automation is and can be a powerful source of productivity growth. If automation enables you to use cheaper machinery for more expensive labor, it increases productivity. However, if it goes excessive, what I've called social automation, you get a lot of replacement, a lot of displacement, but at the margin, capital is not doing so much better. You get things like dysfunctional customer service, which doesn't do its job. It replaces workers, but it doesn't deliver value to consumers or value to firms. And that's the opening where now, if the right kind of technology was produced by tech companies and understood and demanded by CEOs, it could be human complementary and productivity enhancing, and the market could support it. So there is no law that the market would never support human complementary technologies. That being said, there are a number of biases against human complementary technologies. Some of them are in policy. For example, our tax code massively subsidizes capital and taxes labor. So for two equivalent technologies, you would choose the one that's less labor intensive, more capital intensive because of the tax incentives. Managers who hate trade unions would love to have automation tools because it reduces their dependence on trade unions or organized labor. There are other biases that may create a marginal preference for automation technologies, but some of those are avoidable, such as the tax code bias, and some of those would not be important enough if you really have very promising human complementary technology. So one of the things that I've emphasized a lot is that at a time like ours, where we need a lot of new goods and services because of aging populations, changing global balances and economic relations, climate change, human ingenuity, and therefore human complementary tools that are innovative and adaptive are really valuable. So any company that can correctly apply these tools can actually make money and increase its productivity. And that's why I think productivity-wise as well, there may be $100 bills left on the sidewalk, but it takes two to tango. If I'm a company and I'm really decided, I'm really convinced as a manager that I want to use my human resources better, I want to empower my workers with the right kind of technology, still my hands are tied if the tech sector is not producing these new technologies. So it takes two to tango. Both the tech sector needs to produce these tools, and the companies need to demand and deploy them correctly.